Hey, Internet. It's Paul. It's Matt. The Dork Lords. We are here talking about Daredevil, Season 3, Episodes 5 and 6. The Perfect Game. And the Devil You Know.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
I'm looking around the desk here for something I can throw at the camera.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Office utensils. That's the most deadly weapon of all.
Yes, sir.
Essentially, these two episodes... Bullseye is kind of the star in a way of both of them.
Sure.
Especially the first one.
Yes.
So episode 5 is a backstory for Bullseye.
Yes.
Episode 6 results in a climactic fight between Bullseye and Daredevil.
Yes.
Really cool fight scene, actually.
Yeah.
But we learn of Bullseye's talents.
Yes.
At killing people with office supplies.
Killing them swiftly.
Imagine if he had a gun. Yeah. All right. So
He did have a gun for him.
that's true. He did. And
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
He shot quite a lot of them with guns.
That's
until,
true. And then he's like,
till,
pencil.
Until Matt was offended by someone who took his name.
Yeah. Okay. So, the episode 5, as I say, is primarily this backstory.
Yes, because you didn't need to know exactly how Matt got out of a car. That was plunging into the water.
So we don't.
You didn't need to know.
They just pull the car up; it's empty.
Yeah.
As I said last time, I was like, he's a hero. You put a hero who's conscious in the back of a car that's sinking. He's probably going to escape.
Yes.
And in fact, Kingpin, Fisk is like, what? He wasn't. They didn't find him. And his lawyer's like, oh, he probably just washed out to the river, and Fisk's having none of it. And then shows the lawyer, in fact, well, look what the blind man did.
Yeah,
he can do this stuff. Which also, you would think the lawyer would know that because the blind man was in his car and threatened him and then beat up a bunch of cops.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he knew that too.
I don't know. He kind of glossed over that. No, he's a blind guy.
Yes, right, blindy.
Now, you and I have a little disagreement on whether Fisk knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil.
Yes.
I feel like he does, but you are correct in that he does not say, and he's Daredevil, which you would think Fisk would have said that in that moment, like the blind guy who can beat up an entire prison worth of people and escape from a sinking car is Daredevil. He doesn't say that.
No, he doesn't.
So I guess I assume.
And also, too, it's like, why? Like the only thing he's mad about with Matt is, oh, you threatened my girlfriend.
Right.
That's all he ever talks about. He's done so much more, but his Daredevil.
I got you. All right. So you feel like there's still.
So that's really irrational then.
There's still a part of.
He's on the phone with him all alone. No one else is listening. You threatened Vanessa.
Yeah, well, that's a good imitation. So he feels like there's still a guy out there named Daredevil that's kicking people's asses.
Well, right now, he's not. Right? That's why he thinks he can come up with his own Daredevil.
Oh, because he feels like Daredevil is gone.
I think so. Dead. Yeah, because no one's talking about it, and he's only doing it in his previous sort of mask thing.
Okay. So that's interesting.
And also, too, he hasn't been, he's been battling, I feel like he hasn't been battling Daredevil in this season, hasn't been battling anybody who is under, what's his name, Kingpin's control, right? He's been, one is his little escapades with little criminals that are around that he wants to kill them, and then, it's stuff that I feel like isn't directly connected.
It's interesting. So I assumed that Fisk had eventually co-opts Bullseye, Dex. We'll say Dex. He co-opts Dex into imitating Daredevil in order to frame Matt Murdock more, because he's trying to frame Matt Murdock.
I understand he is. And
so then part of that framing would be, and Daredevil's doing horrible things.
Right, but
okay. All right. I get you. It is not 100%.
And two, it's like
deal.
Either you're playing a long game where you're like, I'm gonna implicate Daredevil, and then later on I'll reveal that Daredevil is Matt Murdock. Where it's like, do you really need to wait with that information?
So I would say this then. and I'm gonna guess you might agree with this, that by the end of the season, Fisk would put it together.
I think so.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a question of, like, one thing that's happened in the comics, even though I haven't read it, but I've heard that it's happened in the comics, where it's sort of like Kingpin sort of says, hey, this city needs you. Even though I know you're Daredevil, Matt Murdock, I'm not gonna, so it'll be interesting to me to see if the character finds that way by the end of the series. Probably not.
Like, has some interest in the city as a whole.
Or just thinking, you know what, maybe I don't want to expose that it's Daredevil, that Matt Murdock. Maybe it's actually helpful to me to have him out there.
Okay.
At least that's what, somehow they come to that in the comics. Who knows if they're able to do that.
That doesn't seem like that would be a permanent thing, though. That seems like that would be a, he'd think that one day, and then 6 months later be like, yeah, no, that was a bad idea. Let's go kill him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they come up with some crazy ways in the comics of getting rid of like things like that. Like, for instance, when Mephisto did a deal to erase basically Peter Parker's marriage to Mary Jane. So it's like, oh, now they're separated because the writers don't want to deal with that anymore. And, oh, it's done.
Poof. Voila.
Yes.
Just like that, he's gone. So yes, Fisk is not convinced that Matt Murdock died in the car.
He's right.
And he is correct in that assumption. However, he also implicates Matt.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, there's an attorney, did a lot of work for us and did a lot of criminal stuff on behalf of me, and he's connected to a whole bunch of other organizations, and his name is Matt Murdock.
Now, here's the thing, like, they introduced way back from season 1 when Karen killed that henchman
James
of
Wesley.
Yes, killed Wesley. Do you think the FBI agent was putting it together?
I do not think
Me neither. I don't think
was
so
putting it
either. I think
together.
she was a little nervous about that. Like, maybe they'd figure that out, although...
Yeah, she's kind of telltale hearting it a little bit.
Yes, she is, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
he had a picture!
Yes.
That means they know!
Yes.
Do we even remember... I don't remember how she disposed of the body.
I feel like she might have just left it. That's
left
my
it
personal feeling.
It was like in a warehouse or something, wasn't it? Like
Yeah.
a basement or something.
Yeah, and I feel as if it's worth going back to.
Yeah, maybe it's worth going back.
Because I feel like Fisk found out about the death, and it wasn't like, where is he? I think he found, and then it was just like, no. But
maybe, yeah, because
it's worth going back to look.
Yeah. How she got away with it in
Right.
the moment.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, anyway, so.
Well, it's, certainly it was one of those, she was lucky to get out of there alive. Because it's like, here, why don't you use the gun? The girl doesn't know how to use it. Oh, shit, I'm dead.
Let's make sure it's loaded first.
Yeah, plenty of bullets.
By the way, I'm really vulnerable in the face area. I might be wearing body armor elsewhere. Yeah. So, yes. So, Ray is still alive in the Ray sweepstakes. I know that matters a lot to you, but he's still alive through episode 6. So,
Yeah,
go
sure.
get him, Ray.
Yeah.
I still say by episode 13, start playing taps. But he's still kicking it, going strong. All right. He totally buys into this Murdoch idea. Fisk go get Murdoch. He's like, all right.
Enough to have him put out a warrant for his arrest and to
check out his place.
One thing I've been impressed with. I want to hear your. We work in a law firm. I kind of I feel like they're doing a better job of having the law in there where people are talking about, like when Foggy and Karen are talking about, did you touch anything or whatever, why are you talking like a lawyer? But I feel like a number of scenes where they're, are you charging me? I feel like they're doing a better job of, having realistic law and people make decisions based on that.
I agree, especially since, being a lawyer is such a part of Matt Murdock's personality.
And Foggy's as well. So
if you just graced,
Yeah.
gave a little gloss over it, and you were like, "Oh, he's a lawyer, whatever." Anyway, he fights people.
What when like another example of when the dead G-man walking
Ray
is talking to Foggy, And he's like, did you give him this thing? Like, obviously I did not give him this thing. Very trying to see, he took it from me or whatever. Like,
Yes, I'll give Foggy a little credit. I appreciate it. I laughed at the line at the end. So at the end, he's saying, and if you're done now, I am aiding and abetting you leaving.
Yeah.
And he issues Ray out, and then as he's leaving and he closes the door, he goes, "Don't forget to vote."
Yeah.
I laughed. Also because the vote is coming up. Tomorrow is big voting day, so it was kind of pertinent, and it was just kind of funny with the "Don't forget to vote." So
Foggy made him laugh.
Foggy.
He's winning you over.
Foggy. I will say this is not Foggy's worst season by any means.
Certainly not. No, he's very, it's like
Yeah.
the number of times he's had to sort of like, wait a minute, I'm gonna get upset. And like once when Karen, is like talking to him, he's like, I'm gonna be the kind of friend who is gonna support my friend.
Exactly.
It's like, yes, that's what you should do.
It's totally reframed his character. His character, for the first 2 seasons, was.
Are you nuts? Running around and doing all this stuff? Why don't you stop?
You're a lawyer. We used to be friends.
Yeah.
And now he's much more of a. He's got this compassion for Matt.
Yes.
He's like, he's flawed. I get it. He's got problems, but I'm going to be a friend to him, and not which. He has right to be angry. I mean,
sure.
He pretty much is like, yeah, he stole my wallet and pretend to be me at the.
Right. Well, even the way that Karen was mad at him, thankfully, wasn't some big, blah, blah, I'm going to yell at you. It's like, know what? What's the point?
I agree. It was a reasonable amount of without deep sixing 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Where they can't actually just go get together.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you went to see Foggy in order to get something from him. What do you want from me?
Right.
Just cut to the chase here.
So I guess we'll just say that what he wants from Karen is to track down this Jasper Evans guy.
Not actually.
Good point. He did know where she was.
Right.
Or
he
where
knows
Jasper
what he
Evans
wants
was.
her to do is to make his confession public so that it can be effective in.
And he feels like if he went as Daredevil, then it would be coerced.
Right.
They kind of coerced it out of him anyway, but
well, yes, but more from
yeah.
I mean, it's said enough.
She pulls it up. She's like, "Hey, if you don't talk to me, I'll just say you did."
Yeah, and you'll die too. Yep, that's right. I'll die too.
So that was coercion, but its own version of that.
Right.
It doesn't matter because he gets killed.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
Shot right in the head.
But yeah, so okay, so we're skipping around a little bit, but
yes.
So Fisk sicks the dogs on Matt. We learn that Matt had just returned to his apartment. Well, not just returned. He returned to his apartment and passed out.
Yes.
On his floor for a while.
Yeah, I like the way they played that actually, because they had the the cops going through his place.
And they were like, found these wet clothes.
Yeah, and we're like, okay, I guess he hasn't been there. But later on, you see that Matt was there after his fishing or swimming trip. And
fishing trip.
Yes, that's right. He was being fished. Swimming, and so when he heard the cops come, obviously he could hear them come, so he went up to the roof. They never thought about that, going up to the roof.
Yeah, they never thought of that. It was cool. I liked the
He's a blind guy, though, so.
Because one of the first things you see in the episode is Ray is telling FBI, get back and stay in your room or something like that to a neighbor.
Oh yes,
and
right.
It's at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that tips off Matt when he hears FBI. He's like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I should get the heck onto the roof."
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. I like that. Yeah. Yes. So he's hiding out. He's homeless essentially. I mean,
yeah.
He goes back to the.
Well, no, he's not. Yeah, goes back to the Yeah. That's his home away from home. He started off, there.
He's got another scene with Maggie, who I got to assume is his mom, but hasn't been spoken out loud yet.
Haven't been revealed yet. No.
And she's glad. Maggie has a scene with Karen. Where Karen shows up at the church to see if Matt's there.
Yeah, that's the second scene where some people are like, because initially when Karen was talking to Foggy about Matt, she's like, well, no, I'm not going to help him. He asked to help. Matt asked her to help, and she's like, no, I'm not going to help you. And then when she has a conversation with Foggy, she's like, well, and then she talks to Maggie.
Yeah, and so Maggie tells her, when people try to push you away, that's when you should hold on tight.
Yeah.
Which is
great for abusive relationships.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know, and it's like Daredevil.
It's a good thing that no one told that waitress that.
Yeah. Right. I don't think that just...
Or at least, no, I guess it would Dex. She's pushing him away.
That's not a catch-all.
So, thankfully, Dex is not trying to pursue her still.
Yeah, So Maggie has a talk with Karen. I think it's bad sign that if Karen knows about the church and Foggy knows about the church,
yes,
that people are going to know about the church.
Yes,
church is going to get found out.
Yes,
in the near future.
Yeah, you were thinking that might be the way that Maggie dies, because I was suggesting that, for me, in terms of story-wise and character-wise, Maggie is far more important than your G-Man friend there.
Ray.
Maybe one day I'll learn his name, but it will probably be the day that he dies.
All right.
So
he's dying, but okay.
He's dead man walking.
He's dead man walking.
G-Man walking. Anyway,
so you say Maggie is dead woman walking.
Perhaps if she reveals if Matt learns that she's his mom this season, I think she will die this season.
Okay.
If for some reason they don't reveal that, or some final either he learns it at the end or she reveals it to somebody else by the end of the season.
I'm not convinced that she's going to die. I can see what you're saying, but I will say I'm convinced that Matt's going to learn that she's his mom. This season, he will learn that.
You think it'll be this season? Do you think before the end of the season or at the end of the season?
Well, okay. Now, in other words, episode 13 or
right.
earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know that.
Right. Okay, and you don't necessarily think they will kill her if he finds out. Or she will die, I should say, if he finds out.
You're right. I mean, I would say more likely than not, yes. But I could see a scenario where that almost would push him too far over the edge. Like, in other words, if Fisk kills the mom,
yes,
I think ultimately what we're coming to is a point where he resists the urge to kill Fisk. I think that's what the ultimate payoff will be. Like, you know what? I'm going to choose not to kill, even though I have every reason to.
Right.
I think what we've seen already from Daredevil, if also Fisk killed his mom, I don't see a scenario in which he's like, but you know what? I'm going to let bygones be bygones.
Well,
I think he would go ahead and neck snap Fisk in that case.
You think if that didn't happen, he would? I can't really see a scenario that he's still not going to go after Fisk.
Okay.
I can't.
All right. I'm just saying I think that's the bridge too far. The death of the mom. But no, you're right. In a narrative arc terms, she would be the mentor character. She's the mentor character, the Obi-Wan who then gets killed off.
Yeah, right, because Stick died in Defenders, which, I don't know that they handle that especially well.
But yes, that was mentor figure dead. And in some ways, the mentor idea is important in these things because it's also showing that Bullseye needs a mentor figure.
Yes.
As his therapist put it, it's not that your moral compass is broken, it just works better with a North Star. Which I don't know that's the way compasses work. I think compasses work on magnetism and not following star charts.
You're right.
But so be it.
Yes.
The North Star.
Yeah, you need a North Pole.
Yeah, but I guess you could say that's North. But okay, anyway. Whatever. He needs a role model in his life to keep him on the straight and narrow. Yeah. And so...
Just tell a psycho anything to get him to kill you.
Yeah, right.
That was another thing that I thought they handled well, actually. I really, like I was saying to Matt, that for me, they borrowed quite a lot from the show Dexter, because that was a story about a boy who, through trauma, although I think it's highly suggested that there's some genetics involved too, is a serial killer that's discovered that he has that capacity in childhood, because that's the whole thing about serial killers. They kill animals when they're they don't care, and so they don't have the
empathy.
Yeah, the capacity for empathy and to understand not to kill people, because that just is not good. So one of the things they say in this series is you want to give someone like that routine and you want them to have what else did you say? Oh, develop, be able to mimic the characteristic of having empathy. So so that's something that was definitely featured in the show Dexter.
Okay.
So his
and
father
his name is
was
Dex. It's gonna
his father was teaching him how to appear normal, so that because it's always that that guy, yeah, he was always weird, that guy that would kill everybody. So the way for him to hide in the show Dexter was to appear normal.
Right, and I agree that the therapist in particular gives him life lessons to appear normal.
Yes.
And keeps him in check.
Yes.
So, we see the backstory. The backstory is really well done, I think.
Yeah,
it's creative.
I really want to call it that moment that it was like when she's dying and he's mad at her for dying.
Yeah.
And so he's so mad that he wants to kill her.
He takes her nose,
yes,
oxygen out.
Yeah, so he wants to kill her, but even then she can still be caring to him and talk him through his frustration with her dying.
I so thought she was going to die in that scene too.
Right?
And
yeah.
She doesn't.
No, that was a really great
her.
part about it that they could put that in there. That
you didn't just go like ting ting ting.
Yeah. He wanted to kill her, and still she could give him the information he needed. And when we saw his story through Kingpin or whatever, and
so
him
Kingpin gets all the records, his personnel file and his medical records, and that's what he's reading through his file and his transcripts, and that's we're imagining that Fisk is figuring all this out by reading through all of these things.
Right, but we're learning so much about Dex in this aspect, and so when he gets frustrated or whatever, they're able to play those words from previous, and they actually set up the fact that you can listen to my tapes, so he has all these tapes of their sessions and everything. So yeah, really,
it was very theatrically done. It was, as I say, it would kind of remind me of Legion a little bit in that way, where we see this a lot of times in Legion. They had bits where it's like, oh, we're going into your past in some way, and they would be observing it, but it would be observing it in a stylized way, and so they're very stylized version of these memories, which was really cool. We see that he was in an orphanage, much like Matt.
Yeah.
He was big into baseball and could throw that ball very well.
Yes.
But
Matt feels that it's perfectly reasonable to kill a coach who
it's exactly what
pulls you out.
I wasn't even mention it because I just threw this out there. It is indicative of nothing. It in no way excuses killing your coach, and it in no way puts the onus on the coach. But just saying, you're in the middle of a perfect game. I think most coaches would be like, okay, you get to keep trying to get your perfect game until you give up a hit or you give up a walk or something like that. Like, you don't just take a person out when they're pitching a perfect game.
Right. And I feel as if it seems incredibly common to me for a little league to be like, boy, I've got all these kids who haven't had a chance to play.
No. And there's a huge number of reasons why he might have done it. Might be the pitch count was really high. Hey, he's thrown 120 pitches, and his arm is going to be destroyed.
Oh, yeah, war is like kind of humiliating for this poor other team. Why make these other kids feel so darn bad?
That's the other reason, is like you're just humiliating the other team.
Yeah. We're so far ahead, we can let some other people.
Yeah. Which, maybe that would be the tactic the coach could have taken. There would be like, look, we're really far. This game is over. We're just humiliating the other team.
We're trying to save his life, but
right, we're trying to save the coach's life at this point. What could he have said on that pitcher's mound when he's pulling Bullseye from the game?
Yes.
To have kind of made things not deadly for him in the next few seconds. I'm not sure what that is, but I feel like there's something he could have said, a way he could have framed it,
like there isn't.
that it would be like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Because, and it's cool he has the bullseye on his hat. I know, it's like, that's the team is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The targets.
Yeah, the target.
He's OCD. He's obsessive compulsive, and he needs to complete things, and he feels like if he pitches this game, then his parents will come back, and it'll be great, and life will be wonderful, and somehow he needs to complete this game. He needs to throw every single pitch in this game. And so when the coach is like, yeah, but you know, you can win 1 million of these games, and it's not going to bring your parents back. Did I just hit an emotional button? Anyway, I'm going to turn my back and walk away slowly. And so he does a ricochet, which comes in later. We see how good he is at ricocheting things.
Yes.
And he throws a ricochet, so it doesn't look deliberate, right? I think that's why he does the ricochet. He could have just thrown it straight at his head,
I guess.
but because he throws the ricochet, it's like, oh, well, it was an accident,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think that's the only reason, right?
I guess.
I mean, which also makes him a little devious.
I mean,
right?
he might. Well, I mean, yes.
I'm really horribly angry at you, and I want to get away with it.
That could be, or this makes it more fun for him, I guess, to to do it that way.
Okay.
One thing that really struck me when they had the fight between it struck me when Daredevil and Bullseye were fighting was that's the character. I mean. That he'll use whatever is around him as a weapon, and he can throw it, bounce it, or he can figure all that stuff out. So this, he tried to take Matt out the same way. I guess Matt's head is harder. He threw something at him and blocked his head, hit him in the head there.
The fight. What was really cool about that fight too was that it wasn't just punch, 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 punch. You got this sense of their fighting styles when they're close up, hand to hand fighting, which it seems like Bullseye kind of took Matt for granted at first, like, oh, I can beat this guy up.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh crap, this guy's better than me up hand. So then you see Bullseye trying to get distance.
Yeah.
I need to get away from you then I can throw crap at you.
Yeah, that's true.
And so Daredevil's constantly trying to get closer to him, and it was really neat. It was, and ultimately in that particular fight, because Matt is so, it's just something he's not used to at all.
Yeah.
He's beaten. Basically.
Right.
I mean, I think he's either unconscious or on the verge of unconsciousness.
Right. No, one of them,
pencils.
I mean, that's this character and Daredevil. That's one thing they've been doing is plumbing the Miller run, Frank Miller run for the Daredevil comics, and there was some really great fights between them, and that this just all brings back. So it's really good.
Very disturbing sequence there where we see the bulletin, the people, the news reporters all dead in the newsroom, kind of because there've been some like the Charlie Hebdo and some of the worldwide there've been some problems where
and I'm so glad they didn't have too much or any actually like. It didn't seem like Karen really believed that was Daredevil. I mean, it was Matt.
Yeah.
So I was glad, and Foggy neither. They're sort of like, what?
Well, especially the fact that Bullseye talks to her.
Yes.
And he says like, "Hi, Karen. Good to see you again." It's obviously not Matt talking. So there's no question.
Right, and she knows that he's in another place.
And she sees him there, and she's like, "Go."
Yeah.
So because otherwise, you're right. It would have been another episode of, oh my God, he went crazy and killed everybody. Oh, how could you do that, man? Then Matt has to explain it. Like, it wasn't me. It was someone else. Like, so good. They didn't have to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting that dead G-Man walking sees Daredevil in the red suit.
Right.
And then they're chasing Matt.
I think that was by design too, probably.
Perhaps
I guess it was like make sure you're around when they so they see you.
Maybe.
Right? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
But he beats up the FBI. He being Bullseye.
Yes.
And then so at the end when Ray sees the dead Jasper Evans and everything, he's like, who did this?
Yeah, I guess he was
Daredevil.
Was he pursuing, or maybe not even really sure if any of them actually saw Matt. Because he was just sort of moving around.
Yeah, he
and
was shuffling. They see a blood trail, but they don't see him.
And then they see the scissors that he takes out of him. So
but Bullseye is an effective opponent.
Yes.
You get the feeling that he could actually win. This fight.
That's why it was always interesting to see them fight in the comics.
So you also see, part of the backstory thing with the orphanage and having mentor figures. And having this dual life, this dual personality, I think you're trying to show the idea of a similarity, parallel between Bullseye and Daredevil, especially the fact that Bullseye is now wearing Daredevil's outfit. Now, in the small details, they're pretty different in that. I mean, he's a psychopath. They write it down for you,
Yes.
just in case you weren't sure. Psychopathic tendencies, which I don't think Matt has. Although Matt definitely has, anger issues.
Yes, he does.
But I feel like also they're suggesting that it's Matt's friendship with Foggy and Karen that's keeping him at least from teetering into that bit. When Maggie's talking about, it's really good that he has friends, or you have friends, and you see her smiling and talking about the F word.
Yeah.
I think that's where we saw him when he was just despondent at the beginning of the season. He was a different guy than he is now.
Yes.
And I think they're suggesting that that's kind of where Bullseye's gone off the rails now, because Fisk has manipulated him into this moment where he's completely vulnerable.
Right. One of the, just as an aside, but it's just making me think about it so much, a great moment for the character of Daredevil in the comics is when he's fighting Bullseye, and they're on a train tracks. And one of the things that's been set up is actually Bullseye is so paranoid that he sees everyone as if they're Daredevil. So you can see from his perspective, just people walking down the street looking like Daredevil, and like little families and little child
little
Daredevils.
Tiny Daredevils.
Yeah, so he goes crazy, he starts killing everybody. And so it culminates in the point where the actual Daredevil is fighting him on a train tracks, and he's beaten so bad that he's like, Matt Murdock, he's on the train tracks and a train is coming. He's like, I don't got the strength. I just can't. And he's terrible anyway, so I should just let him die. But he's like, no, I've got to save him. And so he gets operated on, and so he doesn't see everybody as Daredevil anymore. But it's been a question of, why didn't you just let him die? And it's like, I'm about the law. That's what I'm about. I'm about adhering to the law. So I wonder if there's going to be some moment in the series where he's got to basically say, because he wants to kill Fisk. If he's going to be like, sorry, I'm a vigilante, but, I'm sorry, the thing that's most important to me is the law. That's why I became a lawyer. I wonder.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable interpretation. We saw one of Fisk's underlings knows all about Karen. Again, brings up the brother. That brother's going to come up. That story's coming up.
Yeah, it is.
Sometime this season. But intimidates her, threatens her life, basically. And so we get the idea that they are completely under threat. Although they survive.
Yes.
Bullseye.
Irrationally, they survive.
I'll give the credit. I'll say maybe if they're trying to pin it on Daredevil. This is my theory of that Fisk knows Matt is Daredevil.
Right.
That Matt wouldn't kill his friends, Foggy and Karen. So it's even more proof it's there. But no, you're right. The two aren't linked yet. So that was just a coincidence, it was a happy one. But very cool scene too, where so Fisk has manipulated the situation, seeing how to push the buttons for Bullseye, and he brings the woman that Bullseye's stalking to the hotel. Offers her double pay so she can be a waitress in the same place.
Yes.
She sees Dex, says, I remember you, and then he's like, let's get to drinks afterward, and he's like really nervous, but it's like, hey, the stalker gets to meet the woman he's been stalking. And you could tell he's thinking this might be my anchor.
Yes.
Right? He's been looking for it,
Yep.
and this is it. Oh, she can be my North Star.
Yep.
Basically. She has been his North Star from afar. I think that's where he's been using her as this.
Right, well, that's what he was telling that, therapist there.
Yeah.
That, hey, there's this girl that I...
Exactly.
So.
And, when he follows her in the park, she's donating to homeless people and stuff. And, he's like, oh, see, she's good. Yeah. I can model my behavior after her.
Yeah.
So, he gives the cat out of the bag really quick. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because if he had waited longer, then she might have been actually...
And, maybe Kingpin should see if his girl's got a friend.
Yeah, there you go. Vanessa, who's got to show up at some point as well, but it's not
like
yet.
Somebody from war-torn Europe who might also appreciate a murderer.
Her name is MacGuffin right now because she is the complete reason why Fisk is doing everything he's doing, supposedly. But But yeah, so he's like, oh yeah, you worked there for 3 years and you don't have a dog and you don't. And she's like, how do you know these things about me? You're weird. Okay, bye. This date's over. Yeah. And that sends him off the cliff. Yeah. He gets suicidal. He's also been framed, or not framed, but the FBI has kicked him out. Yes, basically.
Well, yeah,
he's on the papers. It's like guy.
He's on leave, but no telling when.
Which is his safety thing of having the discipline and orders and
a job. Yeah.
So he doesn't have it. He's like, I need this job, and which is an interesting way of him to say that. Most people say, I need this job, I need the money, I need health insurance. He's like, I need this so I don't kill people. But he can't say that. So he's about to kill himself, and Fisk calls and says, hey, why don't you be Daredevil for me, basically. Yep. And that's how that works. So, 2 compelling episodes. Yes. I liked both of them.
Yes, they were very good.
We're in the middle of the season, so that's cool.
Yes.
The quality's still on the rise, I think, for this season. So we will be back talking about episodes 7 and 8. Any final words on 5 and 6?
Not really.
Okay. We'll also be talking in the near future about the latest short Star Trek Discovery short. I don't know if it's this week or next week, but it's coming out soon. We will talk about that, Calypso. And I will throw in a Lord of the Rings talk.
Oh, good.
Again, and I'm sure he's thrilled about that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, subscribe if you want to get notifications when dorkly things are dropping. But for Paul, myself, bye, everybody.